Good day, everyone. As we know in computing, software is as important as hardware, especially device driver. Device driver is the bridge between hardware and the software. Today I'm going to share some knowledge of device driver with you. For the record, when I say driver in this lesson, I mean device driver. Okay, so let's get started. This is what we're going to talk about today: application, API, and device driver. In this section, you will learn software in serial communication and the basic concept of a device driver. First of all, let's take a look at the architecture of serial communication. We can see two blocks in this figure. The upper block is the software. The lower block is the hardware. For the hardware part, we will have another lesson talking about UART and EIA driver. So I will focus on the software part only. We can see three levels in the software part. They are application, API, and device driver. When a serial transmission is being performed, application issues commands to driver through API. So the driver can understand what user wants to do, and then driver controls UART directly. So we can say a driver is a bridge between API and the hardware. There are two color blocks for API here. The blue one is Win32 API for Windows, and the orange one is terminals for Linux. Let's talk about each level accordingly. Application is a computer software that causes a computer to perform tasks requested by users. Serial communication is used in different kinds of applications. For example, applications that collect all the information from meters, application that controls machines to manufacture products. And here we can see a simple application called serial terminal. Serial terminals opens based on COM ports. We can use them to test our serial connection very easily. We can see two parts here. The left part is PCOM terminal emulator under Windows, and the right part is MXTerm under Linux. Both are applications from Moxa and easy to use. Like we just said, when we use the application to perform a communication, application gives commands to the driver through API. So let's talk about APIs. API is Application Programming Interface. An application programming interface specifies how some software components should interact with each other. API translates the commands of application for driver, so that the driver can communicate with hardware. A command in application may be several different actions between API and the driver. All depends on how the API works. Operating system API such as Win32 API for Windows or terminals for Linux are the APIs those operating systems provide. Every device manufacturer can write their own driver or application based on the operating system API rules. With the common rules, all the drivers can be controlled by any application written with the same API. In computing, a device driver is a computer program that controls a particular part of device that is attached to a computer. A driver typically communicates with the device through the computer bus or a communication subsystem. Drivers are hardware dependent and operating system specific. They usually provide the interrupt handling for some hardware interface. A device driver simplifies programming by acting as a translator between a hardware device and the software. With device driver, programmers can write the higher level application without thinking of what hardware is used. In serial communication, what does the driver do? In a word, driver involves in everything related to this communication. As we can see on the screen, it can control COM ports, set its variables, or close it. Transmitting and receiving data are its jobs too. Flow control is also a major function of a serial device driver, including hardware and software flow control. Take hardware flow control RTS/CTS as an example. The driver can control the RTS signal directly or just enable UART on-chip hardware flow control. Depends on how the driver is designed. We are not going to teach you how to install a driver step by step here. You can download the quick installation guide on www.moxac.com. Follow the instructions to install the driver by yourself. Here's a tip to check if your device is ready to use after installing the driver. For Windows, after installing your driver, please go to the Device Manager and look for ports. You can see your COM port listed showed like the screen. On the Linux, use ls/dev to check for the COM ports. COM port names would be TTY something on the Linux. You can check README for device naming rules in each driver package. In this case, it's Debian. Its COM port names are TTYMUE plus a number. So after you finish every step, and you can find the devices like this in your Linux operating system, your installation is successful and you can use your serial devices now. In the end, let's have a brief review of today's lesson. Device driver is a computer program which controls a particular type of device that is attached to a computer. Serial driver's main function is to communicate between hardware and software. It controls COM port setting, transmission, and flow control. Moxac's driver supports various operating systems, such as Windows, Linux, and Unix. That's all for today's lesson. Thank you for listening.